Hey guys, it's Coach Fro from RocioFlores.com. Today we're going to be doing our daily life Bible reading. We're reading the chapter 27th of the book of Exodus. If you're not caught up with any of the reading that we've done from the beginning of the year, which is the book of Genesis, the book of Job, and the entire beginning of the book of Exodus, make sure you go to bit.ly/Rose Daily Life Bible Reading. I got a playlist over there with everything that we've done up until now. Today I think we're only going to read chapter 27 because chapter 28 is kind of long, and I don't want to cut it off at a weird spot. So yeah, I think I'll just start, and today will be kind of a short day. Like I said before, we're reading kind of very detailed things that might be a little bit harder to digest, but I'll just kind of go through it quickly, and then just so you know where it is and what exists, and then from there on, it just becomes something that you just understand. And then from there on, whether or not you put it to use is after the fact. Do you know what I mean? Like, you can understand why that information is important and then use it to understand other parts of the Bible. For example, we're going to put the altar or burnt offering. That's something that gets brought up, and that's something that gets talked about a lot. So if you didn't know what it was, it might be just kind of confusing to even understand what they're talking about. But this just kind of tells you what it is, and so it's good to know what things are and where they come from, etc. Alright, so chapter 27, 1. You are to construct the altar of acacia wood. The altar must be square, 7.5 feet long and 7.5 feet wide. It must be 4.5 feet high. Make horns for it on its four corners. The horns are to be of one piece. Overlay it with bronze. Make its pots for removing ashes, and its shovels, basins, meat forks, and firements. Make all its utensils of bronze. Construct a grate for it of bronze mesh, and make 4 bronze rings on the mesh of at its four corners. Set it below under the altar's ledge so that the mesh comes halfway up on the altar. Then make poles for the altar, poles of acacia wood, and overlay them with bronze. The poles are to be inserted into the ring so that the poles on two sides of the altar when it's carried. Construct the altar with boards so that it is hollow. They are to make it just as it was shown to you on the mountain. Okay. Now this is called the courtyard. Okay, you are to make the courtyard for the tabernacle. Make the hangings on the south of the courtyard out of finely spun linen, 150 feet long on that side. There are to be 20 posts and 20 bronze bases. The hooks and bands of the posts must be silver. Then make the hangings on the north side 150 feet long. They are to be 20 posts and 20 bronze bases. The hooks and bands of the posts must be silver. Make the hangings of the courtyard on the west side 75 feet long, including their 10 posts and 10 bases. Make the hangings of the courtyard on the east side towards the sunrise 75 feet. Make the hangings on one side of the gate 22.5 feet, including their 3 posts and their 3 bases. And make the hangings on the other side 22.5 feet, including their 3 posts and their 3 bases. The gate of the courtyard is to have a 30-foot screen embroidered with blue, purple, and scarlet yarn and finely spun linen. It is to have 4 posts, including their 4 bases. Right now I'm just thinking, like, man, that's a lot. That's a lot of little instructions for them. I guess I forget, like, especially when you look back at, like, you go to museums and stuff and they show you how detailed and intricate things are. You gotta remember that they didn't have the tools that we have today to make stuff. These days we have machines that make things. So if something's very intricate or, like I said, finely spun things, we have machines that do that for the people. So imagine back then, I'm assuming that everything was done pretty much by hand. Because, yeah, like, I think most of at least the mechanical tools that were available were way, way later on. So, like, I guess it's easy to think, like, oh, we're just gonna get 150 feet of finely spun linen. That was probably either very difficult to procure or to make, or even just to buy, or to get from others. I don't know, that's what makes me think of that. Okay, all the posts around the courtyard are to be banded with silver and silver hooks and bronze bases. The length of the courtyard is to be 150 feet, the width 75 feet at each end, and the height 7.5 feet, all of it made of finely spun linen. The bases of the posts must be bronze. All the tools of the tabernacle for every use and all its tent pegs, as well as the tent pegs of the courtyard, are to be made of bronze. The lampstand oil. You are to command the Israelites to bring you pure oil from crushed olives for the light, in order to keep the lamp burning continually. In the tent of meeting outside the veil that is in front of the testimony, Aaron and his sons are to tend the lamp from evening until morning before the Lord. This is to be a permanent statute for the Israelites throughout their generations. Okay, I'm going to stop there. So, something to bring up is, a lot of these things are, so obviously these are very specific details about the things they were supposed to do. And you'll notice that then throughout time, so okay, up until they build the temple, this was where all the rituals took place. This was very important part of like their daily life, of everything they did. And then once the temple gets built, that was very important of their daily life. And then so if you understand that was such an important part of their lives, and why, and like the details that it took to make it and everything, then you could see why it's such a big deal when later on, like, they lose the temple, when the cities get overtaken, when the temple's destroyed, like stuff like that. It's a pretty big deal. It's kind of like when we watch movies these days and they destroy the White House and everyone's like, oh my gosh, you know? Yeah, it's just a building, but it also holds a lot of meaning. And to them, it wasn't just a building. To them, it was literally the place that God existed. And so is the only means for them to connect to God. So all of this may seem very like, you know, because it's just a lot of details. And it's stuff that we won't remember or memorize unless you're somebody who is really into it. But just understand that it was incredibly important, right? It had to be incredibly precise. It had to be incredibly important. And like he said, it's a permanent statute. So a lot of stuff you'll see are like permanent statutes. There's things that they're supposed to continuously do. You're not supposed to forget about them. So just keep that in mind, I guess, when seeing like, why are we reading this? It has meaning. I think that's all I'm going to read today, just because it's, again, it's heavy. It's heavy to read things that are very detailed. Tomorrow we'll do chapter 28, and yeah, I don't know what else to say other than be healthy, be safe, make good decisions, and I hope you guys are all doing well. Reach out if you have any questions or anything that's specific that you want me to talk about, and yeah, thank you, and I hope you have a wonderful day.